Hello and welcome to episode 96 of JagaVision. 96 weeks of tea, 96 weeks of great conversations, 96 weeks of a little bit too much fun. I'm Jared Nyberg. I'm co-owner of JagaSilk. You can check out some of our shows if you go to our YouTube channel if you're not watching it right now, and you can look back in time and check out some of the things we've been up to. We've had some amazing guests on. Last week we had Marcus Bukonen join us a little bit late in the game. It was there was a little bit of a time change, stuff kind of got in the way. So if you do go look at that episode, kind of skip ahead to an hour in, and you'll see him join us live from South Africa. And what fun that was! He's circumventing planet Earth in over a 6-year period, and he was one of the people on the boat that capsized in the Bermuda Triangle with Adam Creek there when they rowed across the Atlantic Ocean. And so we've been sending him tea on his voyage around planet Earth, where he's doing everything without using electricity and without using engines. And so it's all like wind-powered and people-powered transportation. Hasn't even been in an elevator. So we were just talking about that. That was pretty fun. Next week we're going to be actually going live to Township Coffee here in Victoria, and I'm going to be taking my matcha mill with me, and I'll be milling matcha fresh for his clientele. And we'll be talking with the owner there, Eric Jensen, as we mill and make matcha. It's going to be way too much fun then too. So if you want to check that out, it's going to be next week, same time, 1 o'clock. And then the following week we actually have Takaki-san joining us live from Japan. He's going to be drinking some of the sencha that we finish fired, and we're going to be comparing that a little bit with stuff that he's put together. And he's been such a great tutor for the finish firing process. And so yeah, really excited about that. But today, I've been wanting to have Andrew Khoo on the show for quite some time, and I reached out to him and he was super game right away. I was so happy. We have known Andrew for so long, since really the beginning of JagaSilk, or almost the beginning, so maybe like a few years in. He used to own and operate a cafe here in town. He's since moved on to Singapore, and he's running a venture capital arrangement there, and he's going to talk to us about one of the projects he's involved in called Morning Coffee. Really excited to have him join us. Andrew, are you there? Is he there? Is he there?
Hey, Jared.
There he is.
How's it going, Jared?
Amazing. Okay. Welcome to JagaVision. Thank you for making the time at 4 o'clock in the morning in Singapore.
Yeah, it's 4 a.m. In Singapore.
Are you?
But thanks for having me.
Are you awake?
And I mean, if I'm not, the tea will make me awake very soon, right?
We should probably drink it very. You want to tell the people watching right now a little bit about who you are and what you're up to right now, and just start there.
Yeah, thanks. I think this whole tea journey. I mean, even though I've moved on from Victoria and I'm living in Singapore. My passion for coffee and tea, that's never left, right?
Right.
So wherever you are in life, wherever you are in the world, in your journey, it's something that you can just enjoy. Just to take a moment out of the day and just enjoy that, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So,
very much. Yeah. So you're still drinking tea, I guess is what you're saying. And durian, right? Like you brought me durian cookies last time you were in Victoria, and I've read a little bit about your travels when you've gone to like a durian festival and stuff. I know this is like right out of left field. I didn't even tell you I would ask about this, but for some reason I have this connection with Andrew and durian. Can you talk to me a little bit about that too? Like why? This is maybe even old news for you, and maybe isn't even something you're enjoying anymore. But you kind of introduced me to these durian cookies that I still remember, and every time I go to like a Malaysian a restaurant that has durian on the menu, I have to get it. And it's the most intoxicating flavor. It's so interesting. Like it's just, I feel like it sticks around. Sometimes it's actually really, it's like a stinky cheese where it's going to go really unpleasant, but then it doesn't, and it's amazing. So I guess it depends on the durian and stuff. But I don't even know what I'm asking here. But can you talk about that a little bit? There was like
I mean, durians it's a love-hate thing, right?
Yeah.
Either you really love it or you can't really stand it, right?
Right.
And durian, it's kind of similar to like wines in the way it's grown, right?
Okay.
The cultivar and the terroir, you
Mm.
know, the soil, the growing conditions, right?
Amazing. Okay.
And then every season, every harvest is different, right? Depending on how much water, how much sun,
Yeah.
and the taste, the profile. And so, um, I still love my durians. In fact, just had a durian party last week,
You
the other
did.
day, right? And
Amazing.
and if you follow, I don't know, I think I either blogged about it or I posted it somewhere, but I've even tried barbecuing durians. It's
Okay.
something I learned. It's something I learned from a chef. So
Okay.
I do it over charcoal, and you barbecue the durians. It tastes like creme brulee, right? So it's really really interesting.
Amazing.
And the other thing about durians is when I went to a durian farm up
Hmm.
on the hills, the first thing that the durian farmer did for us, he sat us down. I still remember it very clearly. Wooden bench, wooden table, sat us down, and then he started making tea.
Interesting.
And it was pu'er, right?
Oh
And
wow.
then
Okay.
and so I asked, well, like, why are you drinking this? So he just gave it to us. We
Yeah.
started sipping it.
Yeah.
And after that, he chopped open the durians,
Yeah.
and then we started eating and pairing. So
Oh,
basically,
interesting.
it's like a palate cleanser. So if every time we drank the pu'er,
Yeah.
then you eat durians,
Huh.
it actually the taste just becomes more pronounced
Oh, that's
because it's almost like
fascinating.
a palate cleanser.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like preparing it for you. Oh, that's fascinating. So you just had a durian party, and at a durian party, are you gonna like taste different cultivars of durian then, and just kind of compare and contrast and stuff, or
Yeah.
are you just
Yeah.
just having random, not random, but like foods made with durian, and just kind of like a combination of those things, or what does that look like? I'm so fascinated by a durian
I mean, so usually one would try different types of durians, right?
party.
There's a D24s, and then there's a Musang King, and there's different versions. So, and the way to eat durians is usually there's a sequence.
Mm-hmm.
You want to eat it from the mildest to the
Yeah.
strongest,
Okay.
and so that's how you normally eat it, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, interesting. So, like, I guess I had a really strong durian the other day. It was in actually a cake that I had at a local cafe here in town that's using durian and unusual for Victoria ingredients. And it was very very like stayed in my mouth for a really long time. And sometimes I have durians that are a little bit lightweight, and I get the feeling that it's a lot like a cheese or a wine or a tea, and that there's this or coffee where there's some of those there's naturals and there's washed coffees, and depending on processing methodologies and cultivars and roasting and all this stuff, there's just so many roles that are playing. It's actually really interesting to me how so many botanicals out there, when you start digging away at peeling back the layers, the onion layers, you start to just like it can go so deep. One of my former staff members, he has a company that specializes in dates from Saudi Arabia, and it's just so fascinating, the different cultivars of dates and the different textures and the different how they're processed and where they're processed and all this stuff. It's just it contributes. And even locally with our the beekeeper that we buy our honey from for our kombucha fermentation, we worked with him to do a single yard honey where we could get longitude and latitude coordinates, and the bee, like the queen bee, it's going to be it's going to be really interesting to like, it changes the flavor, I guess is what I'm saying. Andrew, with there's this connection, and you know what, we should probably, you're at 4 o'clock in the morning, why don't we actually start brewing tea while we're talking about this a little bit? Does that sound like fun?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
I've got everything set up here,
Okay. So
with
this
my
is
fellow water here mug.
okay.
So just tell me what temperature I should do that.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, for the audience watching, we're gonna be making a what the farmer calls a juicy peach. I don't normally call my teas what the farmers call them. Hey, like I normally I like to call it by the cultivar, and this is a Chi Lan. So Chi Lan that you often see actually growing on Phoenix Mountain. And I haven't seen it as often grown on Wuyi Mountain. So this is actually from Wuyi Mountain, and this farmer, Mr. Shi, is this extremely talented farmer who is actually introduced to us by another farmer who lives on Yellow Mountain, and in Anhui. And it's just so interesting to me that last year we cupped so many different teas, and in blind cuppings, his teas just stood out so much as these incredible, complex, and interesting selections, and almost always a little bit too expensive. So it's actually, this is coming out as part of our reserve series. So we have a selection of teas that we wholesale to other cafes, but then we have a reserve series that are too expensive to go like through that sort of standard. And also there's a supply issue too. There are often a lot less of them. But at any rate, what I'd love you to do is I've put on there something like 5 grams for 120 mils, I think. What is the settings that I put on the post there for you?
Yeah, 5 grams, 120 mil, 100 degrees.
Yeah.
So it's boiling, is it?
Yeah, we're gonna do flash infusion. So let's give that a try. And then I actually haven't totally released this, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to do this with you, where you and I could compare and contrast a couple different settings. So we'd look at what it would look like to brew this gong fu cha style, and what it would look like to brew this more like classic black tea style, like, or what we call crimson tea here. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So then we have lots of tea. So what I would do is I would actually just grab your scale. You have a 0.1 gram scale?
Yep, I got my scale here.
Amazing. Okay. And then let's this one's batteries. And then let's it'd be nice to fill up this teapot. So rather than doing 5 grams 120, let's add another 1/3. So 180. Let's brew 180. And then so that means 7.5 grams. Okay? You want to do 7.5 grams into your teapot. Oh, and best use of an AeroPress funnel, Andrew. Check this out. See that? It's like it was built. It was like they were built for teapots.
Oh, okay.
And for those watching, actually, Andrew and I met again like 2008. So, what year is it now? Are we in 2000?
No, I think. Then I came back. I came back. I think I came back just a few years ago.
No, I'm not, I know. I've seen you since, but when we met was like when you started Kona, right? Like right before.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right before the doors opened.
Right.
That was like 2008. Was that 2008?
Yeah, it's around there, right?
Yeah. So we've known each other for quite some time, and you know me from when I was like a young whippersnapper, hey? Like
You still are. You still are. Except you're wearing a tie now.
I'm wearing it. Yeah. On Thursdays, and I have gray in my beard. But otherwise, I'm still like a 5-year-old child. Okay. So what I would love you to do is pour on 180 over 7.5 grams. But before you fill it actually up, I would love you to do a rinse. Could you do a rinse?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just a little bit behind you.
All good. Yeah, all good. Okay, so I'm gonna throw that on. I'm thinking more like 20 seconds-ish. I sort of regret putting these settings on this like temporary package, and I'm glad we're doing this now because I was having this tea the other day with family when they were visiting, and as much as I love almost all of She's teas with this Gong Fu Cha style, I actually think this particular tea does better with the kind of more of a classic style of preparation. So I've done 30 seconds. That's what I've done. That's 30 seconds as soon as counted as soon as the water starts touching the tea. So I have a timer that counts up. You'll understand why I kept the name. So normally I call them Chilan, I would call this Chilan by Shi, but I've called this one Juicy Peach, a Chilan by Shi. And again, Chilan is the cultivar. Actually, that worked out. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty good. This way. Yeah, I'm interested in what you end up, thinking. I've been really also experimenting with brewing my teas in gaiwans and comparing them. Like, love this gaiwan. Check this out. I had a guest on that was one of the people responsible for sourcing it, but it has a little cat tail on the top, as if that's not the coolest thing. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty rad.
Nice.
You know, we have to rock the cat theme. It's important. Makes everything taste better, right? When you do a rinse of these tea leaves, give the wet leaves a smell, and you will smell peach. It's kind of unreal. And this is not a scented tea.
Wait, so you want me to rinse it first, just a flash rinse, and then go for 30 seconds?
Yeah, but what's important is that you tear the tea in the teapot on the scale first. Okay.
Yeah.
Then when you rinse, don't re-tear the scale.
Yeah.
So just you'll be able to measure the water absorption, but like tear it like this, with the tea leaves in it. Then rinse, pour them out, then add to 180. Don't re-tear. Does that make sense? And it's kind of interesting because you can see, like, I can see 14.2 grams were absorbed by the leaves, and it's kind of fun because certain leaves absorb more than others. Like a sencha with 180 will absorb like 50, if not 60 grams of water that are just not going to come out. So it makes for just sort of interesting observation about how to interact with different teas.
Yeah.
But you know, one of the things we've been working on since your time at Kona is we've been trying to figure out how to work with cafes to do a style of tea that's like this. And there was this wonderful tea shop in called Camellia Sinensis that I'm really inspired by in Montreal. And the 4 owners actually travel to Origin every year when it's not the pandemic, and they source teas from, they all have kind of their specialties, China, India, Japan, Taiwan, and then they bring the teas back and they have a little tea party at their, they have 4 locations in Quebec. And then what really inspired me though was, other than the way it's all sort of organized, was just how amazing it was to sit down at a table, and they brought out all of this like kind of a nice little gaiwan, a little decanter, the tea, and a thermos that they had set to the correct temperature. And they walked me through making the first steep, and then they left the kit with me to continue making it on my own. And I thought that was really cool. It reminded me of a cafe that we visited in Kyoto, where the people serving you had their tea instructor certificate on their belt, and they would actually walk you through how to make the tea yourself. And then, you know, you'd have that initial they had that initial sort of you had that initial guide, and then you were able to figure it out after that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they sort of left it with you, and I find that actually really, really interesting. Okay, so you've brewed it. Are we ready to drink it? You wanna give that wet fragrance? Do you smell the juicy peach?
Yeah. Very, very hot though.
little tiny cups. This is what we had a guest on from this shop called the Chinese Tea Shop in Vancouver, and he's such a legend with his understanding of pu'er. But he said that a cup like this is like a little tiny cup is what you drink when you're trying to understand a tea. And then he brought out a cup. Here, I'll show you. He said, and if you want to have a really a big cup, which is still a small cup. This is what you drink when you're just having a conversation with friends. Isn't that
Hey, well
interesting?
then I'm glad that you brought out the big cup too. Then.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. This is how you can like convey intention, right? It's like, there we go.
Yeah.
We're buddies, Andrew. Okay. All right. Um, cheers.
Cheers.
I like how you switched to the little cup. That was symbolic there. Is that what do you think?
Mm.
Is it too lightweight?
No, I mean because of the 7+ grams, right?
Hmm.
There's some body behind that.
There's some body? Okay. So you're I find that when I'm making gongfucha, um, I've heard time and time again from those that are much more experienced than I how important it is to just sort of roll with it as a fragrance forward first steep and then to pull out more body and basiness as you re-extract and re-steep. Okay. So
How many times can we steep this one?
this one we're actually learning it right now, so we're gonna figure that out. I think maybe we could have gone for like less infusions. You might have to put some aside in a jar and maybe put it in the fridge and enjoy it later, and we can take some initial sips from each cup. But yeah, I think we're about to find out. Hmm. I would say let's at least do 3 steeps, okay? Just
Yeah, sounds
just
good.
just to see if we're on the right path anyways to understanding this tea.
Are we still at 100 degrees?
We're still at 100 degrees for sure. Yeah. This
Okay.
is where I think we should be going. So, question for you, for those watching too, is why did you get involved in sort of the coffee and tea beverage industry in the first place?
I mean, back then, I mean, it was something new to me.
Okay.
You know, it's my very early stages of just coffee discovery,
Right.
right? And back then, of course, the whole third wave was
Yes.
really coming on or starting out. I think it's very different today compared to back then, right? 20 years ago or 10, 15 years ago, right?
100%.
And and but I just saw an opportunity, there was a space available, want to create something new and different, and but then as you know, I paired the whole coffee scene with then matcha and teas.
Yeah.
So
That was
I
really
tried to,
cool.
which was I think back in the day it was new for people for the community, right? To
Right.
see a cafe that has coffee and equally tea as well.
Yes.
Um, most cafes back then didn't really focus on teas.
No.
And
They
yeah,
didn't. And and for us too, it was an inspiration because we could. You actually set up this really cool retail tower. I remember of all of our products on display in this really, and then we did that fellowship of the matcha, one tea to rule them all, and
yeah,
and it was kind of like we didn't have a space at the time where people could actually come and try our things, and it was really meaningful to have that connection with you and to have a space where people could come in and see the retail on display and to be able to try all of the different options. We had different quality sort of options there, and I think yeah, it was really special for sure. But you kind of have this thread where
you continue to involve yourself, it seems, in the food industry, in specialty. We talked about durian just earlier in the conversation, but what is it about, um, say, the coffee, the tea, the durian, these maybe I assume wines and cheese? What is it that draws you? Why do you find yourself fascinated? Have you ever like when you look at this question, like I could answer it for myself, but I'm interested. What draws you? Is it a business opportunity? It seems like it's more than that. Like you seem to have some sort of innate draw to it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess once a foodie, always a foodie, right? And they say people in this part of the world, like Malaysians and Singaporeans,
Mm-hmm.
everything is about revolves around food. You're immersed in that, right?
Right.
Food and drink, and it's a way to be hospitable and to welcome guests.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, maybe it's something I was just born with, something that I've been interested in.
Mm.
Uh, and so from there, of course, it's a interest, hobby, or passion, and from there, sometimes you seek out and see there's business opportunities as well, right?
And even better if you're already fascinated by it in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So so you're kind of like so you think there's like this kind of cultural background to it, but there's also just like you're just born interested in it. I also like personally, I really feel that what what sort of attracts me is this. I think that it encourages a slowing down, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that because hospitality, if you want to have something beautiful for people, it doesn't necessarily have to be slow, right? But there's something about the multi-layered approach, understanding, really looking for terroir, cultivars, the intervention of the producer, and trying to understand it, that makes you pause for a moment and just really kind of think about what it is that you're ingesting. And I think there's something really special about that I find really fascinating. That I actually really appreciate that about the direction. I don't even know if third wave coffee is going there anymore. I think that the next kind of step that's happening right now is actually a move away from slowing down. It's like trying to have your cake and eat it too. They're trying to. I've been seeing like coffee and tea bags. I've been seeing specialty coffee shops making instant coffees. I've been seeing sort of an instantification, and there's it's the teeter totter, or people need, you put too much here, and then there's always inevitably going to be a pushback, and there's always trying to find this equilibrium. But personally, I get so interested in small menus. I love efficient systems. You don't have to be fast to make me food or drink, but I sure do appreciate it when somebody has a really efficient system. I find something really magical about that. Like baristas that really know what they're doing, and their movements are like a dance. I find that inspiring, or even chefs in a restaurant when their movements are just so well thought out, and the spaces are really well organized, and menus. I love menus. I don't know why I love menus so much, but I love looking at menus and seeing how they convey information in a very minimalist way that still accomplishes a lot. Like I find that stuff fascinating for some reason. I don't really know why. I just when I see a menu I really like, I just like, oh, this is an amazing menu.
Hey, in Singapore these days, all the menus are via QR code, right? Because of COVID. So now we have to read it on our smartphones.
Hmm. Interesting. Do you miss the simplicity of just a well organized menu that you just see and the placement
I mean,
of it?
tactile, touch and feel, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, depending on how it's done, it could still be the same. It's just on PDF,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I've been actually, I wonder if I can show you using. Hold on one sec. I want to show you a menu that we have built here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. What do you think of that second steep, Andrew?
You know what? Actually, I'm still on the first steep, so I'm gonna do the second steep.
Oh, okay.
So second steep, I'm gonna do it right now, but
Okay.
30 seconds still, is it?
It is.
Are we doing the same
We're
settings?
still doing it. Yeah.
So, by the way, which water are you using for your tea?
I have a quadruple filter, so it takes Victoria water, which is pretty soft to begin with, and then it puts it through a sort of finer and finer filtration using carbon filters, and then at the end it's too fine, like there's nothing left really, so we re-mineralize it.
Right.
with just a little bit, and then we find that seems to work for us. I think that kind of everybody needs to have their own sort of method, I guess, for working with the water, the rough ingredient that they're working with. But there's a big movement towards just having some sort of homogeneous water, so that everybody's drinking the same thing. But yeah, I don't know. What kind of water are you drinking?
Well, for special occasions, I bring out. It's Hokkaido.
Hokkaido
Kaiser
water.
Tsugan.
Nice. Okay.
Hokkaido water. And I got this from a recommendation from a tea master, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I went for this tea sort of workshop.
Okay.
And then I said, "What's the best water to use? Can you recommend?" And he said, "Use this Hokkaido Springs, this specific brand." So I pulled this out for special occasions.
Nice. Okay.
So here we are.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I slightly oversteeped it while I was talking to you. Sorry.
It's all good. It might be a little bit. It might be aggressive with the tannins, but maybe not. You'll be able to tell them. So this is the menu that I wanted to show you. Can you see that? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if my viewers can see that. Okay. I'm gonna try and make it bigger. Let's see if that's here. Bear with me, viewers. I'm gonna make this 200%. Okay. Yeah, it's not. It gets rid of the video when I do that. But you see that kind of way of talking about it? I just love this kind of thing. This kind of simplicity, where you just have
Tea story.
tea with stories, yeah, and then it's just this section of the menu is just tea with less water, tea with more water, less milk and more milk, and it's just like I love how much is said with so little. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that I love wine menus that are like that too. I'll scroll down a bit too, so you can see how we're doing the say some tea. So this is actually an example of a menu that we've done for a cafe. So they just have 4 teas on their menu. Oh hey, check this out too. This is something new. How do I do this? No. I think just over. Okay. Okay. And there we go. Okay. I think the way I'm going to do this is show you. I'm going to ping myself, and then I can do this over screen. This is something new. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So this is a tea
What is that?
roaster.
Wow.
So we've actually been we've been roasting our sencha in house. So this is normally something that would be done at the farm level, and we as of late last year we've started to do tea roasting. So we're able to bring out a new and interesting sort of. It's like like back in the day with coffee even. It would have been much more normal to get your coffee roasted for you in Italy, for example, right?
Yeah.
And yet there was this moving toward sort of localizing that a bit and making it so that you're able to control a lot more of the flavor dynamics by doing it yourself. And
Experimentation, isn't it? Experimentation, and you're a micro roaster now.
micro tea.
Huh?
Exactly.
You're a micro tea roaster.
So I was writing a description. So we're roasting, but we're also milling, right? And I think I showed you the matcha mill when you were here last time.
Yeah, you did.
And since then we actually hooked it up to a chiller that you use for when you're brewing ferments like beer, etc. and it actually controls the temperature of the tank that's used for chilling the water for the mill. Before it was kind of a little bit. Do you remember it looked almost like a plastic jug, and we would put plastic bottles of ice into it to keep the temperature down. But when we were checking the temperature regularly, there was about a 10-degree variation in temperature that was constantly happening. And now that we have it hooked up to a chiller, we can actually control the temperature to 1 degree centigrade. And the 2 degrees in temperature, it makes a huge difference. So I think in the package I sent you actually not just juicy peach, but I sent you some matcha too. So
You did.
I do.
It's
want
right
you
here.
I do want you to give it a try. Maybe we can sneak it in. I don't know how much. I think I'm talking so much that we're running out of time. How about, I was asked for you until 2 o'clock. Is that okay, or you?
Yeah.
Is that too much?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. That works.
Okay, then let's. You got the second steep in? Are you getting more body out of it the second time around?
I am. I'm kind of enjoying the second steep, but I'm getting more body. I'm not sure because I went over time
Sure.
steeping it, but I don't know. I'm enjoying it better.
Is it aggressive? Are you getting more tannins? Like
It's
in
not.
an unpleasant
No,
way?
I think it's still fine.
Okay.
I went to about 40. Actually, it was like 45 seconds.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. Yeah, oftentimes I kind of go back and forth depending on how I'm feeling that day, on whether or not I want to do a super, lightweight extraction or if I want something a little bit more intense. But this is gonna work for me. So I'm gonna go actually on to the third steep. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days? You said, I think before we started the show, you were telling me about a company that you're involved in called Moving Coffee.
morning. Drink morning.
Sorry, there's
Drink
another
morning.
company called Moving Coffee in Vancouver. Morning Coffee. So what is morning coffee?
Well, you talked about this whole instafication and how there's a movement towards that, right? So it's very interesting that you talked about that.
Okay.
I brought the machine here just to show you, right?
All right.
So
I'm into it.
this is, okay, let me just pull it out. Can you see the machine?
Oh wow. That looks really cool.
So this is it's called the morning machine,
Okay.
right? By my good friend of mine. He founded this machine. He's one of the first pioneers of the third wave coffee in Singapore, right? So he opened a couple of cafes here, very well known.
That has a
And
really
so-
cool design. I
So
can't even see the
he's
whole
done
thing.
this. Yeah, so he's done a startup, right?
Uh-huh.
Which is this Nespresso compatible machine. So I mean, our company, myself, I backed it a bit, so put in a bit of seed money, right?
Yeah.
But
okay.
So let me just show you how this machine works. It's really for Nespresso capsules, coffee,
Okay.
but interestingly enough, you can do teas as well.
Okay.
So I have a whole selection of teas here. You see, so another startup here in Singapore,
Yeah.
they've been doing teas, right? So you have this this tea here has orange peel,
Okay.
and it's a pu'er. Then there's a mint, black with mint, and then there's a jasmine, right? There's a jasmine tea here. So basically, yeah, I could steep a cup of tea here for you on this machine if you like. But what's interesting about this compared to a normal Nespresso is that you can set the profile, you can set the settings.
Oh, interesting. So is this like a Nespresso machine alternative?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. It's Nespresso compatible with all the capsules,
Okay.
but it's app based. So you have an app
Yeah.
where they work with all the roasters.
Okay.
So there's different roasters, right? There's St. Ali's from Australia. There's all press from So what you can do is you can they work with the actual coffee roasters, and then when you buy the capsule,
Yeah.
it's all preset. So for example, you buy this capsule called Feels Good from St. Ali's in Melbourne,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, I see 93 degrees C. Yeah.
And then it's got a whole profile, pressure profiling, everything's all set, right? And
Okay.
then, so it's just as how the roaster would have intended the coffee to have tasted.
Interesting.
So,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
then, but you can go in and do your own setting, right? You can change the temperature. You
Okay.
can change the whole extraction process, right? You can even do it manually too. You see, so
Mhm.
it gives the user
Mhm.
the final sort of inputs into the whole experience, right?
The person who invented the Nespresso has regretted it forever because of how much garbage that they use. Is there a environmental component to this that's been thought out, or is this
Yeah.
is this a waste producer?
Biodegradable capsules is the way that people are going
Yeah.
now. Does that, and and there's a whole movement of making. You can also get your own pods, capsules, right? And
I've
then you
been
can do
seeing
your
those.
own.
They're kind of like
Yeah.
reusable, right? Yeah.
So,
That
so a lot of
that
these roasters
that makes a
are
lot of
moving
sense.
towards biodegradable. Yeah, yeah. So biodegradable is the way, I guess.
I think so. 1 second. Maki, could you get the door? Thank you. Awesome.
See, like this capsule is a biodegradable one, right?
Yeah.
So it's different from the aluminums, right?
Hmm. I've been, I asked this because I'm struggling with it. I have, oh, look at what I've done. I've totally overbrewed this. So, I went, how did I go? I went 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Let's see what I've done here. Okay, that's really interesting because I struggle. So you've seen my foil pouches, right? Like the ones that are in the tins and stuff. And, I mean, for the audience and stuff, like a lot of our products come in these guys.
Yeah.
And I struggle. I bring it up because I struggle with it. Like I want to move to biodegradable, but the product then, if it gets past, like I want it. It's because I guess there's a catch-22 here. We want the packaging to dissolve, but we don't want it to dissolve before the product is ready to be oxidized. And there's also an issue with just having enough, I guess. Ability to block oxidation, because oxidation is a huge issue too. And so like I'm all in. I've always been a huge proponent of these sort of environmental sensitivity, and yet here I am almost 20 years into the business, and I don't really have an answer for the packaging of my teas. And again, I would have gone to biodegradable a million years ago, but at one point they were just too big. I wanted smaller because tea, you use 1/20th the amount that you use for your average cup of coffee in terms of mass, right? And so it becomes really problematic if you start, selling wholesale customers a pound of tea at a time or a half pound of tea at a time, because it takes them so long to go through it that by the time they get to the end, it's all oxidized, right? And if they're one of those rare situations where that tea they're going through it super fast, then great. But oftentimes, depends on the tea, right? Some teas you do go through it with enough volume, but there's going to be especially the more expensive specialty teas. Suddenly, those are the ones that are going to oxidize on you, and we're really trying to, put something out there. So I guess it's an interesting question. I'm fascinated by this machine. So do you have a reuse? Are you able to make a pod, or are you're gonna use the orange peel pod there and just show us how?
Should I do one?
Sure, let's see it. Let's see it in action. It's kind of interesting. This also brings back memories. I remember you and I going and checking out a T-Presso machine.
There we go.
Back in the day. Do you remember this?
Yeah, those things are still around, right? T-Presso?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so
you
let
don't
me,
see them in Victoria anymore, or in the Okanagan where they had one back in the day, but yeah, I think the company still produces. I'm not convinced that the unit actually, but I guess with coffee too, oh, this is really good. I oversteeped this considerably, and it's really good. Yeah, interesting.
Okay, can you see? I'm gonna set the settings. Okay, so it's a
Okay.
manual brew.
Okay, I'm gonna try and get up.
You see it? It says teapot.
Yeah.
Okay, so 95 degrees. It's a pour.
Okay.
Well, how many? I'm gonna ask you.
Yeah.
How many degrees temperature?
I would go 100 if you can.
Yep. Okay.
And can you flash infuse? Are you able to do more than one steep out of this? Can you do like?
Okay, because of pods,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's not much in there, right? So you can only probably do 1 or 2 steeps, really. I mean,
How does it?
uh,
How, does it extract in a vacuum? Like, how is this extracting? It's just fine filters, and is there pressure involved in this? I guess that's how Nespressos work, right? So probably just press go.
yeah.
And see what happens.
Okay. I'm gonna do the setting here. So about 100,
Yeah.
and so it's gonna be 1 cup. So I'm gonna go 125
Okay.
grams. Does that make sense? Or 150?
Let's go low.
Probably along
Let's go 120.
125. 120. Okay. And then we start with, see, this is the pressure. So it's different pressure profiles here from 1 all the way to 7. So it's how many bars, right? So
Yeah.
P1 I think is about like 9 bars or 8 bars.
It's
So
square. Let's
and
go
then-
aggressive. Let's go to 7.
Okay, it's heating up now. There's a PID in here, so it's gonna heat up to the 99 or 100, and then
This is exciting.
because this is manual.
Yeah.
I can use the wheel
Yeah.
to control the pressure profile. So it's almost like
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. That's really interesting. Huh. You know, like, so you.
So I can even pre-infuse, right? So I can cut it off, let it sit there and pre-infuse. There, see, cut it off,
Yeah.
pre-infusing in pod the water.
Amazing. You could even
And then
throw
you
that
can-
out and call it the rinse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is cool. How big is the cup? It's an 8-ounce cup.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. That's a really interesting unit. Like the instantification movement. Like I'm not sold on it. I do think it's beautiful. What you have there in front of you. But I have all these buts. I'm just like.
Yeah, I mean, there's a place for everything, I guess, And but what people want is quality and the best quality possible. But sometimes it's about convenience, which is why some of these specialty cafe roasters.
Yeah.
I mean, they jump onto the whole Nespresso and pods and so forth because they see there's a market for that. But how can you produce the best quality coffee in this kind of format, right? And so this is what it's about. It's not meant to replace. I mean, but if you don't really have time to really sit down and brew a nice cup of coffee or tea, then is it possible to get a good experience out of this kind of format?
I
Where you
guess
can control all the parameters, right?
the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? If it tastes really
It
good,
is.
that's going to be really important. And
Yeah.
and you've
So to me,
obviously
it's
tasted
about-
it and you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean it's not going to be okay. For example, coffee, the coffee pods. It's I have specialty coffee,
Yeah.
geishas, Ethiopians, award-winning cup of
Yeah.
excellence coffees in the pods, right? It's probably not going to be as good. It's probably not going to be as good as the freshly ground experience. But,
It'd be really cool to do a blind cupping. Taste a similar amount of liquid extracted through this versus just like a more sort of common extraction methodology, maybe a pour over or an AeroPress or something. And obviously, an
Yeah.
AeroPress you'd get more. I guess also depends on the filtration, right? Can you taste the
yeah.
filters? It's like I remember going between different to-go cups and some of them you could actually taste the material and some you couldn't. Have they been careful to protect the product from getting affected by the material that it is housed in?
Yeah. I think there's a filter in there too, right? So they
But
try.
Is it impacting the flavor? Like, can you taste the filter? Like, oftentimes, paper filters I have a hard
Yeah.
time with because you
You're
can
right.
taste the paper. But they're still widely used. Like a pour over is
Yeah.
almost exclusively done through paper. And I love coffee that I make through paper filters, but I can taste the paper. How is it?
I wish I could pour you some.
Is it good? We gotta hang out sometime in Singapore.
It's nice. I mean, obviously there's an orange. There's the orange peel in there, so I'm not getting the full unadulterated taste of the pu'er, right? It's not going to be a high grade pu'er, but it's decent for what it is. It's decent. I mean, I think the coffees and teas coming out of this machine,
Yeah.
I would give it a 7 out of 10 maybe, or 8 out of 10. It's not going to be like a 10 out of 10,
But it's going to do
but
it for you.
it's decent.
There's a product out there called a Khoo. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's a it's kind of won like best award in the United States for some sort of like new product award by Time Magazine or something. And what it is it's a very clean looking machine that mills tencha for you into a little magnetic bowl, and then it whisks the matcha for you. So it's kind of like having how you have a coffee pot that kind of produces it for you. You just put the tencha in the top, and then it mills it, whisks it, but it has to be cold water. So you can then add that to a smoothie. You can drink it straight. You can also turn off the whisking option, and you can just put your favorite matcha bowl into it, and then you can kind of hack the machine to just mill into the bowl, and you can whisk it yourself, which is kind of cool, right? But I was really excited about it. I thought this is the answer for I could be like firing on my tea roaster the tencha, and then I could sell tencha to cafes that have these like little like 2 gram per you can get fresh milled matcha, and like what could be better than that, right? But the problem is, of course, that it's ceramic burrs, and you can't get the fineness that's required for a technically correct matcha. It needs to be less than 10 microns. And when I drink it, I can taste chalkiness, and I'm not super stoked about that. But I've kind of come around to it that now I'm here, I'm like, you know what though? There's propeller grinders, there's $100 residential coffee grinders, there's $700 residential coffee grinders, there's $1,500, $3,000, $10,000 grinders out there. So like, there's gonna be compromises at different levels, and I think when you take that into consideration, then maybe for me the matcha coming out of the unit isn't exemplary, but I think you could choose a tencha for the machine that comes out ideally for the machine, and also take into consideration, like, honestly, when I'm at home, I don't really drink matcha because I mill it here every day, and I'm constantly quality controlling it. So when I go home, I don't have it during the day. On weekends, I sometimes want it, but that's like maybe once or twice a month on the weekend. And you probably experienced this at the coffee shop, right? You're probably not going home after Kona, when you were doing Kona, and then making yourself a coffee. It's not. Maybe you did, I don't know, but if you did have it, it would probably be on the weekend, right?
Yeah.
Or at least, you worked every day, I think, but like the days that you didn't work, you might make a coffee at home. Anyway, I was just thinking about how all my matcha goes bad on me at home. It gets oxidized, and how interesting it would be to have a unit like that. And so I've kind of like come around to it, like if I can make room for it, my house is too cluttered, I gotta declutter, but if we can make room for it, then setting it up and then kind of trialing it, because I did get one, because I was so excited. And apparently now they're really hard to get or something, but they're interesting. You should check them out. I think it's an interesting design. It's spelled Cuzen, Kuzen.
Okay.
And it's a Kuzen matcha, and I think that there is a market for that though. So anyway, I think it ties into what you're doing here, that like, even if you can have a better experience at a cafe, or you can have a better, like there's a time and a place for these things. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget, it's a first generation. I mean, you know how machines and equipment improve over time, right? So
Yes.
And then they add more quality. So, yeah.
Right.
I see it now. Kuzen looks very interesting. I think some cafes have it. Actually, I think I've seen this.
You've
Some
seen it.
cafes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a very interesting invention. And one of my good customers, actually, he buys tencha from me for his kuzen, because he doesn't like their whole thing is sell the machine, and then they have a subscription for tencha. And it's hard to get your hands on good tencha, right? So
Interesting model from a business side.
Yeah.
Subscription, which
Totally.
is what Nespresso is about. Even the morning machine, there's a whole ecosystem, right? Where you can go on the website and buy all the different types of coffees, pods, right? And it's a subscription model. So that's a whole different angle to that.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe we should talk to morning coffee about about a specialty tea pod.
Specialty
production.
matcha.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we can do it. Sencha.
Sencha.
You know.
Sencha. Actually, welcome, Sherri Ann, Sister Speak.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, she's all ready.
She's already.
She
She's drinking. Yeah.
Sure.
Sherri Ann, have you met Andrew a million years ago when he was owning Kona Coffee here in Victoria? Maybe.
Oh,
maybe not.
didn't we play at Kona Coffee once?
I think we did. Yeah, I think we did. Yeah. We did play music. Did you ever see the performances at Kona, Andrew? The music?
I think I saw one.
Or was
So,
that after you moved to Singapore? That was.
which year was that? It's
So
the early years or the later years of Kona?
I actually don't remember. I think you
It
did.
was like 2012, I think, or 2012.
No, I think it didn't exist in 2012 anymore.
Oh, 2013.
I
No,
think-
2011. 2010 or 11.
So it would have been in the later years then.
It was the later years. Okay, so no. So we would have missed each other.
There.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sailboats,
lovely to meet you.
sailboats in the night. Sherri Ann, Andrew's living in Singapore now, and he's just showing us this nifty machine that he's involved with these days from a company called Morning Coffee. Andrew's been involved in, I guess, he's a. What do we call your line of work, Andrew? You're a venture capitalist.
Yeah. I mean, I'm involved in looking at startups.
Right.
I'm like this is through a friend, and I backed it, you know, and Jared also says I'm a durian connoisseur, so I'm just a foodie, just exploring food and drink around the world.
There you go.
You know?
That's a good way. I like that description. That's how I'm going to describe Andrew moving forward.
How's the Singapore Airlines? I'm looking at going to Germany on the air. Singapore Air, I think it is.
Oh, nice. But from where? From Singapore to Germany, or?
No, from New York to Germany.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Good airline?
It's the best airlines in the world.
Really?
It's always rated in the top 3. You know, top 2, top 3. So
Ooh,
for sure,
I'm totally gonna get that flight then.
it's a great experience. If you've never flown Singapore Airlines, it's definitely worth a try.
You gotta go for it.
Although
Okay.
having said that, you know, air travel these days is not exactly the same as it used to be
Right.
Yeah.
pre-COVID. You know, things have been exactly. So, but the world's coming back very
It is-
soon.
Yeah, we are experiencing.
Things are opening up again.
Do you get a carry-on bag?
Not sure. Are you flying like first class?
No, I won't fly. I'll be flying the most basic economy, like even like more basic than economy if that exists. Like that's.
I want.
That's downstairs. That's in the baggage. That's in the baggage area, cargo area.
Yeah, I'll be flying in the cargo department.
It gets pretty cold. It gets pretty cold down there.
Oh, okay, I'll bring a jacket and an air pressure regulator.
Yeah, right.
That's amazing. You know, I want first class, business class though. It would be really funny if you weren't allowed to carry on. You know, there's just like no. It's like I got business class. No.
Yeah.
The proletariat in me wants to see this.
My bag's almost packed. It's right here.
Amazing. Okay, yeah, it's an interesting time to go to Germany.
Yeah.
You know, crazy times.
I know.
So we were learning about his machine there. I did have Andrew actually until right about now, we were talking about this moving coffee machine, morning coffee machine. I keep saying moving coffee. I know another company called moving coffee, so this is morning coffee. And you're selling subscriptions for the pods. Or I should say you. I guess Morning Coffee, the company, is
Morning Coffee is, yeah.
The subscription system, and it also does tea successfully. I assume. Are you enjoying what you're drinking right now? Is this a 7 out of 10, or is this a 2 out of 10?
Yeah. I would give it a 7 out of 10. You know, so this whole teapot market is very new, right? I was just telling Jared that, you know, now companies they're producing teapots in Nespresso compatible machines. So that's what I extracted, which is a Khoo tea.
Right.
But you know, it's probably like just a single digit, less than 5% of total sales would be tea based, right? So there's a huge, opportunity there.
You know, we have a line of teas at JagaSilk that are fast bar teas, and we purposely brought them in to be able to handle hotter temperatures produce richer flavors using sort of a more homogeneous temperature setting in 30 seconds or less. And so we do these cut, torn, curled, some CTCs, and we encourage customers to just use a sieve, like a really fine sieve that we get from Japan, and you just put the tea in. We have them do these trays, so it's like just pre-dosed, and so the cafes, instead of putting their tea into tea bags that they then put into cups and fill water, and the customer's in charge of the steep. Instead, they pre-dose in these. They put the tea, empty it onto the sieve, and then they pour water onto the tea in the cup with the sieve in it, and then they give it 30 seconds of contact time. And when it's done, they just tap out the sieve, rinse it, and they're ready for the next tea. So it's a lot less waste. It's really easy to prepare. It's really efficient.
Yep.
But it'd be interesting to see this kind of tea. Like, I think that, for example, Fukamushi Sencha, like a very deep steam tea in the system that you have in front of you, handles hotter temperatures and produces richer flavors with shorter extraction times with less product.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would be right. I mean, it's a more robust. There's still CTCs, right? The black and so forth would work very well in this format. You know, but
the mint teas, menthol comes through really, really clearly, really quickly, and be kind of interesting too. That's fascinating. I think it's an interesting unit. Again, I guess I'm always concerned about waste, and so I'm always encouraging people, get rid of the, it'd be interesting if the unit had like a metal pod for those that don't want to buy pods, and you could just sort of like put in whatever
you can buy it on Amazon, and fill up the pods yourself with your own teas and so forth, right? Which is the way to probably that's the next step for someone coming onto the system.
Yeah.
And they're very conscious of that. Probably that's the way to go. And then you can source better quality teas. Then you can kind of experiment how much to put in and so forth, right?
That'd be really, really interesting. Yeah, but I wonder if there is a method for solving that. I guess biodegradability. Anyway, I feel like we're on
different track, right? It's going to be a 3-hour session now.
Yeah, that's right. It's 3 hours. Yeah, well, we just started. That's right. But on that note, I don't think we have much more of your time here. We've already pushed it to 2:09. But is there any final things that you wanted to bring up, Andrew, before we end the show? Or?
Well, I mean, this tea is still going. I mean, just coming back to why we're here, which is the tea, right? Mm-hmm. This tea is still going pretty strong, even with the third tea.
I totally overbrewed my third, and I'm now on my fourth, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the overbrewed third. So,
have you done your fourth? Are you trying your fourth?
I am trying to kill it.
But once you've oversteeped it, it's going to be difficult to recover the leaves. Would it have lost its strength? Or?
That's the theory, isn't it? Mm. Now I'm just trying to prove that hypothesis as correct through an extreme overbrew. And see if that's even possible now that I have technically coaxed everything it has out of it. What I've been noticing is that it's very farm and cultivar dependent. There are some teas that just have a couple layers of steeping sort of permeability, and then there are teas that just seem to go and go and go, and you just can't see. They just don't seem to end. Generally it's the darker oolongs and the pu'ers and maybe some of those really specialty Chinese crimson teas that seem to have so many layers of flavor, especially when you do this gong fu cha style, this like a lot of leaf with short infusions. I actually think that I would love to see the industry move in this direction, where if you're going to do a to-go cup, do gong fu cha, like just set up a table, you have a customer order it, and they just like 30 seconds, and they're done, and I was reminded by one of my guests just the importance of the cultural aesthetic that I think can get lost in this thirst and quest for convenience. And you could make a matcha in a stainless steel bowl, but isn't it beautiful when you have it made in this like lovely ceramic bowl and you drink right out of the bowl? Like, I know it doesn't actually affect the flavor, but the experience is such an interesting part of flavor.
it's kind of like cafes where you have the slow bar where you can sit down in front of the barista.
Yeah.
So similarly, for a tea drinking experience, you could have that, right? That's, and then you just enjoy the moment, and that's where you can have the whole Kung Fu style tea. If you have the opportunity, just sit there in front of the barista making the tea for you, right?
Totally.
And then whereas of course, there's going to be a more like a fast format for those that want to kind of like grab and go or they have less time. Then you order something else, right, for that. But yeah, for sure, I think that's a great experience that not everyone has that time or that opportunity to really just sit down and enjoy that moment, right? Take the moment out of the day and just enjoy that experience.
I think that's the joy of the pour over bar. I love manual brew bars. When I go to a coffee shop, if they exist at that shop, I love taking advantage of that. Just sitting there and having that experience. But I do have moments where I just need to go, and that's when I get an espresso. But yeah, it's interesting. Anyhow, okay. Well, Sherri, did you have any questions for Andrew before we wrap things up here, or?
I could ask questions all day, but what is your highlight? What are your highlight tasting notes in that steep there? Is that your fourth steep?
No, I stopped at 3. But you know what? Between the 3, the second is the best. I don't know. I mean, the third one, it's still going strong. It's still smooth, but there's a bit of astringency at the back note. It's starting to come out a bit. So I know once I get to the 4th and 5th, it's going to become more prominent, right? So for just a very balanced one, nice and juicy and well-rounded, it's the second steep.
The second steep.
Sure.
Second steep.
Yeah, for me.
Which you ended up taking a little long, right?
45 seconds. So then the third steep, I went 45 seconds as well because I didn't want to change the parameters. And
Fair
45
enough.
seconds worked for me. So, yeah.
This one, the third steep, I brewed too long, and I really enjoyed it. But I kind of want to go back in time and see what's possible from this tea if I could just brew it effectively with these shorter infusions and see.
So Jared, are you saying that we have to do a second take?
Yeah, that's right.
No, we have to throw this whole segment out.
It's gone.
We're gonna do another session.
This is just what we have to do. Starting at 3 p.m. So I need you back here in 45 minutes. We're gonna redo the whole show.
No. I would suggest, Jared, you just have to invite me back for another episode.
This is
episode
what's gonna happen.
97, 98, or 99. Just invite me back.
Okay, all right, we're gonna do it. You might. Word is you might be.
I'm going to be in town, but it won't be in time. I mean, your episode's on Thursdays, right?
Yeah.
So you and I can spend some time, maybe like, cafe hopping or something, and then maybe we'll just have to do another episode when I'm back.
Let's do it. I'll give you some goodies to take back with you, and maybe we can make a matcha. We haven't had a matcha together. In a while.
Great. Let's do that. I'm going to try and bring some durian stuff for you. I need to bring some durian stuff for you.
Do it. Why don't we do let's do a matcha and durian pairing episode.
Ooh.
Okay? We're going to do it. We're going to drink some durian, or eat some durian, drink some durian.
I'm not sure if that's going to work. Does that pair well? I'm not sure.
I don't know. It pairs well with pu'er, so I'm excited.
Okay,
these rich, strong flavors, right? I don't know.
Yep.
We'll see. We'll have to see. Okay, amazing. I'm looking forward to it. So, but for those watching, they can find if they want to go and check out the morning coffee unit. Is it just morningcoffee.com, or where are they going to find it?
Yeah, just type in drink morning. If you Google drink morning, it'll come out.
Drink
morning machine. Drink morning. Drinkmorning.com. Basically, it's drinkmorning.com.
Okay.
Everything's there. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, we'll talk more next time that we have you on the show. Maybe we can. What do you think about? We got 97, 98. What about 99? You want to come on episode 99?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And then we just have to make sure that Sherri comes on earlier.
Yeah. We'll bring her on. Yeah, I think.
And then maybe I can interview her.
I think that's good. We'll reverse roles here. And then for episode 103, Sherri Ann's going to interview us both.
Well, I am on an airline.
To Germany.
Airline.
Yeah.
Live streaming from the air.
Just turn on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
From the cargo hold. Wi-Fi in the cargo hold.
Yeah. I think Elon Musk is supplying that these days. I think. all those cargo hulls.
The cargo hole or the ejection pod?
One of the, yeah, both. Yeah, that's the cheaper landing option. Is the ejection pod.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. It'd be like a Star Wars scenario. You got to watch out for those Jawas. Okay. Thank you so much, Andrew. Sherri, you should check out her music too. I know we didn't get to talk about that very much, but she's got a new album coming out on April 1st. It's sounding amazing. She has a Patreon, which I encourage everybody watching to join, and we got a sneak peek as patrons for a chance to listen to the album before it came out. I was really stoked. So sisterspeakmusic.com or patreon.com/sisterspeak is where they can find you, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then you want to tell people about tomorrow?
Yeah, we have the Music Friday, Musical Tea Friday. It'll be Steve Schmiller, Truth and Dolphin, Jared's project, and then myself, Sister Speak solo, and hopefully the albums will be there. But I just got word that there's a delay, and they arrived in Connecticut, half the shipment, but the other half might not arrive this week.
That's too bad. Fair enough. We were hoping for it, but tickets are $20, and you can go on JagaSilk.com, and you get a contribution to the music. You get some tea. You get some dessert. And tomorrow we're going to have daifuku. We're going to have roll cake. The roll cake is going to be sakura roll cake, so we'll be using salted cherry blossoms that have been put into the kiji, the dough, the cake part of the roll cake. And then you have some. I think we did some beetroot for the coloring of the cream, so it looks pink. It's kind of fun.
Ooh.
And then we have the daifuku. So, and how could you not enjoy a good daifuku? So yeah, it's gonna be fun. We'll see if we can't. It'd be amazing. Do you know when you? So you're not gonna be here for a Thursday, but maybe for a weekend or something.
I'm flying in on a Saturday,
Okay.
so
you're just gonna miss
Sunday
our Fridays.
maybe?
Okay.
I'm gonna miss your Fridays.
Okay. All right. It's all good.
Wait, but you know what, Jared? I'm back over Christmas.
Okay.
December.
Okay. All right.
December. So
We're gonna see a lot of you. That's amazing. Okay. And who knows? You might see us in Singapore one of these years.
sounds good.
Okay.
Fly Singapore Airlines.
We'll brew this again. Let me know what you think. One more setting. I'm going to give you some homework, Andrew. I would love you to try 3 grams, 180 mils, boiling water for 4 minutes. That's kind of more of a classic sort of red tea preparation style that you'd see in North America. So I want to know your thoughts on that classic style versus this kombucha style.
Yeah.
And then we'll reconnect. And for those watching, huge appreciation to you viewing. Andrew, thank you for your time. Sherri, thank you for your time. And we'll see you again soon. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed the session.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
Talk
you.
soon.
Okay.
Talk soon. Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So we just had a great show here with Andrew Khoo there from I guess he's really talking a lot about that drink morning coffee machine, which looks pretty exciting, that he's involved in. So you should totally check it out. Sherri from Sister Speak will be performing tomorrow here at JagaSilk out in the courtyard with Steve Schimmelar is going to be performing. Truth and Dolphin, my band, is going to be performing. So you can go on our website, jagasilk.com, reserve tickets in the live music section of the shop. Hopefully if you're enjoying what you saw, you can click the subscribe button and the bell for getting notifications when we go live. We do these shows every week. Pay attention though, we are going at 1 o'clock next week, but in April we have plans to adjust the time back to 2 p.m. instead of 1 p.m. So be prepared for that, and looking forward to having you join us again next week. And check out old episodes too. I'm Jared Nyberg. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.